I'm just taking a quick break from boxing up my Osprey coffee table book. This one, if you don't have one yet, you can get one in the description below. People that have gotten it tell me they really like it. It's full of my favorite Osprey photos and some really good stories. And oh yeah, look, I got this new shirt made to commemorate the book based off of this to this. You can get that probably in the description below. But that's not what this video is about, but I have to do a little bit of shameless self-promotion because nobody pays me to do these videos, and that's a good way to help support me, either my book or shirts, stuff like that. So I've been shooting Sony cameras for quite a while now, and I spend a lot of time with quite a few of them. I think more time than a lot of people, and almost daily I'm out shooting these cameras, and my experience has been with the A7 III, A7 IV, A7S3, A1, A9II, A7R4, A7 III, and the A1. So during the time that I've been using all these cameras, and actually have met a lot of people in the process, I've learned quite a few cool little tips and tricks for these cameras. Some I figured out on my own, some I didn't. A lot of people showed me. That's one of the cool things about going out and shooting with other people. You pick up all kinds of cool little tips. So that's what this video is. It's gonna be some of my favorite tips to help you get the most out of your Sony cameras. You might know them, you might not. So let's go with number one. The first one, most of these cameras you can actually charge from inside your car. Here, let me show you. If you open the little door on the side, some of these cameras, like this is the A1, has this USB-C port. I can plug a USB-C cable into the side of this camera and then plug it into my car and actually charge the battery in the camera while I'm driving. This has been a great saving tip for me because there's been many times when I might not have had enough battery, but I can drive and actually charge the battery. I forgot to charge the batteries overnight. Either way, I can actually get the battery charged in my car while I'm driving. And while we're on the subject of this same little port, some of these cameras, you can actually pull the video and the images off of the camera directly with the same port. So you don't have to always have a card reader handy. You can just plug it into the side and pull it off just that way. This is another handy trick. If you're out in the field and you have the amazing image that you absolutely don't want to delete, all you have to do by default on most cameras is press this button right here. It will then key that image and it will be, you won't be able to, it'll be protected, so you won't be able to delete it in camera. One little trick that I really like is to center the focus area on the back of the camera or in the EVF. And I've set up the joystick on my camera to do this. So if I press in the joystick, it automatically throws my focus area back to the center. Let me show you how you do that. So in order to do that, you have to come down to this toolbox and you're gonna wanna go into Operation Customize, and you're gonna wanna do this top one, Custom Key Setting. And when you do that, press one more to the right, and you're gonna get this really cool representation of the back of the camera. And we're gonna change this joystick. To get to the joystick, we have to come down one, and it's gonna be the very first choice here where it says Focus Standard. So if you choose that, then you can see where I've actually chosen Focus Standard as my choice. So when I press the button, it took me into a menu that allows me to choose whatever I want to assign to the press of that joystick. And under the AF menu, the third one down is Focus Standard. And once you have that set like that, again, if your focus point shifts and you want it back in the middle quickly, you just press in that button and there you go. Some of the menu systems on the Sony cameras are contextual. Like, so you can be doing something in the camera and then press the menu button and it will take you to that specific area of the camera. And a good example of that is these cameras have 2 card slots, and sometimes the camera might be by default reading card number 1 and you want to see what's on card number 2. So you can dive into the menu and find that section where you can swap cards really quick, or you can do this. You can just press play on the back of the camera to review your images like you normally would, and then press the menu button. And as soon as you do that, it takes you to that portion of the menu and you can change the card slot and actually switch card slots very quickly. There's a lot of items in the Sony menus or in the cameras that are like this, and you can play around with it and figure out which ones are more helpful for you. This is a funny one, and it's really easy to fix this problem, and I wouldn't even call it a problem, but I don't even really know what to label it. Disable the little sensor that switches the rear screen to the EVF back and forth. So if you're out in the field with friends and you're trying to show them something on the back of your camera using the rear screen, you might have noticed every time your hand passes in front of the screen shuts off. That's because of this little sensor right here under the EVF. It's designed to do that. So when you bring the camera to your face, the rear screen shuts off and the EVF comes on. So that's what's happening. But it can be annoying if you're trying to share stuff with people, if you're trying to show them stuff on the back screen. So the easy way to fix that is all you have to do is pull the rear screen a little bit off of the back of the camera, and look, that little sensor shuts off, and then you can share whatever information you want on the back of the camera, be it the menu or a shot that you just got or a video. And you don't have to worry about your hands or the shadows of your hands shutting off that rear screen. While we are on the topic of this rear screen, there's an actual way that you can disable this rear screen pretty easily and have it usable only when you need it. If you go into the menu system here and you make this selection here, this is basically telling the camera that you want to be able to turn off the rear screen. And after you've made that selection, you have to use this button to cycle through all of those options that you had on the screen before, and one of them was to turn off that rear monitor, and there you go, the rear monitor is off. Now the cool thing about this is if you need it, like if you want to review an image, just press the play button and it springs to life. Half press the shutter button, it shuts off. If you want to go into the menu, press the menu button, it comes on. Half press the shutter button, it shuts off. If for any reason you need to film or shoot with the rear screen, if it's really like if you want to shoot down low and you want to use the rear screen, just press up on that pad again and it will enable the rear screen or turn it back on. And if you want to turn it back off to save battery, which is what I do, just cycle by pressing up on this button until it shuts off again. This one is super, super handy, and it has saved me more times than I can think about. And that's assigning the ISO to this rear control wheel here. And once you do that, the slightest touch of that wheel will alter the ISO setting. So if you want the ISO to go up, you just turn the wheel to the right. If you want it to go down, you turn it to the left. If you want to engage auto ISO, you turn it all the way to the left until auto ISO is engaged. Some people don't like this because they might hit it a lot with their thumb and end up changing the ISO or the ISO. I have found this to be invaluable because I can quickly change my ISO value quickly and get the results in the EVF and see exactly what I'm doing and do it all in a matter of half of a second. And again, this has saved me so many times. Let me show you where you go in the menu to actually set this. So you have to go in here to the customize section and then down here to where the actual wheel is. And once you select that, you can navigate what you want to assign to that wheel. And I'm gonna assign the ISO to that wheel. And again, this is huge for me. Other cameras that don't have it, don't have this ability, I won't shoot them, or I don't like to shoot them because there's a lot of times I want to be able to change that ISO very, very quickly. And for me, this is a huge, huge benefit to the Sony cameras. Part of what I just talked about with putting the ISO on the wheel is actually setting up zebras correctly on this camera. Now, I did not come up with this. A friend of mine who is a wildlife photographer slash videographer, Ryan Mintz, he came up with this, and the way he described it to me was he took a volleyball under studio light and he found out the exact moment a pixel turned white or lost data, and then changed the zebra algorithm or formulation that tells you when it's overexposed with the zebras on the back of the camera to match. And so the settings that he came up with were this. If you come into this part of the menu and you navigate all the way down to the bottom to the C2 line, and it should be C2. And this is the thing that's really important. You want this to say 107 plus. And once you have this, it will accurately expose for your whites every time, pretty much perfectly. And by putting that ISO on the rear wheel, you can quickly turn the rear wheel until you see the zebras and then turn it back until they're gone, and you're pretty much exposed properly or perfectly or close to perfect, however you want to say that, for the whites in your actual image and for video as well. I use this all of the time, and it's super helpful for me. So that's it for the tips that I have now. Maybe I'll have some more soon. Let me know what you thought. If you have some tips that I didn't mention, share them in the comments below so that other people can benefit from those tips, so that we can all become better at taking photos and video. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. This is a little bit different. I normally do more story-oriented videos, but every once in a while I like to do videos like this where I help people and show them some tips on certain cameras. So subscribe, like, comment, share, all that good stuff. Yeah, I think that's about it. Until next time, I'll see you later.